I would like to open this talk with a bit of obscure history. In 2010, Electronic Arts released Need for Speed World as an online MMO. The game was amazing in concept, taking the world maps of Most Wanted 05's Rockport and Carbon's Palmont City, mashing them together, and having racers duke it out in a series of custom races. It was a game that I would have loved to devote a ton of time into, but regrettably, my laptop at the time simply could not run the game properly. I played a few hours into it before dropping it and going back to other NFS games of the era. NFS World eventually went belly up in 2015. Rumor has it there are fan servers and the like, but that's not my thing, and I am not about to go scouring the internet for them. The point being that not everything can last forever, and a 5-year run is respectable when it comes to racing MMOs and the like. But as they say, all good things do come to an end. And this year, that end is coming for one of my favorite racing games of all time. Yes, Need for Speed Rivals is going to be put out to pasture on October 7th, 2025. And to be quite honest, I'm a little surprised it hadn't already been done, for a rather strange reason I ought to point out. You see, NFS Rivals is what we would call a buggy mess from a functional standpoint. If you open the game and the game cannot figure out a server to put you in, it literally freaks out and crashes to either desktop or dashboard respectively. The only workaround is to lock your game in solo lobby, which is what I do every time I play. I genuinely thought the game had been dead for a while, and that I had simply been playing its reanimated corpse. And given the number of other glitches I have stumbled upon since that time, I do mean that very literally. Now, given this whole solo lobby function is available, it does present a non-zero chance of those who own the game still being able to play it after the server shut down. After all, Most Wanted 2012 is still playable, but we don't talk about that. However, if this means the game will launch into an automatic game crash a la The Crew 1, I'm certain a few gamers will likely be upset. I say a few because the average player count for this game is like 500 a day at most. But what about me? After all, I did a full 24 episode series on the game. I literally built a good chunk of my channel using NFS Rivals. And yet, when it's over, I won't be one of the people crying about it. And there are a handful of reasons why. For starters, I do recognize how EA works. When they delist an IP, it usually gets remastered at some point. It happened with Burnout Paradise, it happened with Hot Pursuit 2010, and you could say that World itself was meant to be a remaster of Most Wanted 05 and Carbon. Given that EA has currently thrust Criterion onto Battlefield yet again, meaning they have no planned NFS IP in the works, I would wage a bit of money that they will re-release Rivals on the PS5 and the Series X. And if they were to fix a lot of what was broken in the original copies, that would be worth rebuying the game for, or hell, just streaming it over EA Play. Because remember, I have rebought games like Burnout Paradise a total of 4 times, while still not paying the full price equivalent of a single copy, mind you. Though even if they don't remaster it, and it's somehow gone forever, I can say I got literally everything possible out of the game. Seriously, the game had a 12-year run, impressive on its own, and I owned 2 copies over 5 of those 12 years. I beat the game 100%, twice. Every car, every upgrade, every pursuit tech, every medal. Not one thing was overlooked during my playthroughs of the game. And most importantly, I filmed everything I wanted to film, with the final project being We Are All Criminals deconstruction of the rule of law. There is literally nothing else I can add other than coming up with bullshit challenges of my own. So with all of that in mind, what is my take on this trend of delisting always online games? Because I know people are going to bring up The Crew 1 because they always bring up that game, in spite of me giving my piece on it numerous times, meaning we might as well expand outward to online games on the whole. Putting aside my Xbox One, I also have a Nintendo new 2DS XL. I purchased it in 2021, right before they discontinued the handheld entirely. I bought all the games I wanted from the digital store before it went offline in 2023. There are 2 games that I am currently playing, Mario Golf World Tour and Animal Crossing New Leaf. Both are single-player games with strong online components. Mario Golf does have the single-player clubhouse mode, with only 3 official tournaments and a challenge mode. The other 12 available courses are technically practice mode only when in single player, with a handful of challenges in each one. The game was built around online tournaments, and without them, a lot of the best gear in the game is permanently locked out. Meanwhile, with Animal Crossing, no online means no going to other players' towns, not to mention no Club Tortimer, no Dream Suite, and no HHA showcase. So some things you might never be able to get, while other things are completely a random chance for showing up in your town. And of course, you do see all this on the Xbox One as well, with many racing games falling victim. Half of Burnout Paradise is unplayable without a working online. Free burn challenges require 2 to 8 people. And to get certain cars like the Carbon Uberschall 8, as well as a literal third of the game's achievements, you are required to play in online lobbies. Split Second was an Xbox 360 game that you can still play on the Xbox One, yet that game's solo career is incredibly short because you were expected to compete in the online career as well. Grid 2, same exact story. Then you have a game like Forza Horizon 4, which got delisted after only 6.5 years, which you can technically still play offline, but you are locked out of Eliminator, Super 7, Forzathon challenges. So if there are achievements that you still need, those are permanently locked. When a single player game is built around jumping online and competing or collaborating with others in what is a 2-stage campaign, you feel it when those features are no longer available. Even with Rivals having a solo lobby and a virtually limitless number of NPCs to do head-to-heads and instant pursuits with, the reality is that you will rematch with many of the same vehicles and AIs over and over and over again, when the game was really designed around human interaction. It was a game designed around jumping into packed lobbies, disrupting other players through sabotage and trolling, and then bailing the hell out before you got your own ass beat. And without that, the game does get kinda dead after a while. Despite Rivals being one of my favorite racing games of all time, I only had 50 hours on Xbox One and another 10 hours on PC. Even racing games I hate have more hours than that. NFS Heat has 75. Forza Horizon 4 has 100. If Rivals is truly somehow kept alive as a reanimated corpse, what more am I sincerely going to get out of it? And when it does come to The Crew 1, while it is true I loved that game, and had 135 hours in it. Do you really think that even half of those hours were single player? The answer is not really. The single player career was 68 events, about the same as Split Second's single player career. You could clear them out in about a week, though if you wanted to platinum them all, it did take a little bit longer. From there, everything that kept a player playing was based in the online mode. The faction system was an online system. Summits were an online system. Many of the custom license plates could only be unlocked while doing things online in a crew, hence the game's name. And most of all, it was a game about driving across the continental US and meeting complete strangers along the way. Imagine having over 1,000 square miles of open countryside and not seeing a single person in all of that area. It would feel more dead than No Man's Sky when that game first came out. All good things must inevitably come to an end. That is just how it is. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. I love NFS Rivals, but it is time to let go. If it comes back as a remaster, I will be happy. But if it doesn't, then oh well. As it stands, Motorfest is my current lock-in, and it is a game that I'll be investing a lot of my time in over the next 5 to 10 years. If I am still alive when Motorfest reaches its final season, I have no doubt in my mind that something even better will have come along. By then, it is very likely there will be a racing game that is just the entire planet Earth, at which point, Motorfest is as good as dead anyway. As gamers, we need to stop living in the past. There are people who still play pirated copies of Most Wanted 05 to this day, and I don't understand why. Are you happy challenging the same 15 racers you challenged 100 times before and the same cops that employ the same bullshit tactics with rhinos that show up every time you hit heat level 3? Or would you rather someone come up with something better? That is your choice, but I know what choice I am picking. Anyway, I needed to get that off my chest. There actually was one final idea that I had considered doing with Rivals, an Interceptor decathlon if nothing else, but I ultimately shelved it because it just wouldn't have worked from a production standpoint. For me, I really do need to focus on Motorfest and as much content with that game as possible. So yeah, if you listened this entire time, thank you so much, and I will be seeing y'all in the next videos.